Did you know that in Ireland, 1 in every 6 people can suffer some form of hearing loss? As we get older, our hearing deteriorates, so that by the time we reach the age of 60, 1 in 3 of us will have a significant disabling hearing loss. Over 250,000 adults in Ireland have difficulty in their daily lives because they cannot properly hear what's going on around them.
I first noticed my hearing loss in my 40s. As I picked up the phone, I noticed that I used only my left ear, that I couldn't hear properly in my right ear. So a couple of time went on, and eventually I went to be tested. And I was told that I had an industrial deafness. I worked with machinery. Sewing machinery would be in the background of where I worked, and I had noticed I would turn it off. So it obviously was having its effect unknown to me.
When I first realised that I had a hearing problem was actually in 2010. But prior to that, my daughter had kept telling me all the time that, get your ears checked, you're not hearing properly. I didn't tell anybody for a long, long time because I didn't know how they'd react. People with disabilities kind of to be pushed aside.
Hearing loss is a common health condition in Ireland. We know that 1 in 6 people have some level of hearing loss. We also know that people delay in addressing their hearing loss, and that about 2/3 of people who could benefit from a hearing aid don't have them.
I would have noticed that I had some form of hearing loss maybe 20 odd years ago. It was my wife who said to me, look, will you go and do something about it? And I suppose like a lot of people, I had this thing, if I put a hearing aid in, that's an aging thing for me. I'm admitting an aging process or something there.
I was getting that I couldn't really pick up things at all and get it. Hearing was getting worse. If you went to the pub or that, you'd notice, the noise all around you, and you were only half in conversations. You'd sort of miss out on a lot of things, and you tend then to kind of withdraw from things then.
I just was rolling off the lies to beat the band because I just didn't want to intervene in conversations because I knew I'd be getting it wrong. I used to go to meetings, and again, I wouldn't be hearing things properly. I'd have to sit up at the top and try and hear. And again, I still used to get it wrong. And I used to say to people, can you write that down because I won't remember, but it wasn't that at all. It was the fact that I wasn't hearing what they were saying. I
was working as a journalist, and I started to notice when I'd be interviewing people, I was more and more asking them to repeat themselves. It was my hearing loss was high frequencies, which would be women and children's voices primarily. And I noticed if I was doing a piece that involved women or children, I was having difficulty or more difficulty in doing those interviews. And particularly I started noticing say if there was a photograph involved and I was looking to get the names for captions, and particularly with children, I was more and more asking them to repeat their names. And eventually what I used to do is I'd hand them my notebook and say, would you just write your names down there so I get the spelling right? But really it was so I can get your names.
I direct a dementia research programme at Trinity College Dublin, and the primary focus of our research is prevention and brain health. Decline in hearing is common in older people, and it's also something that impacts on our quality of life as we age, making it difficult for us to communicate with family and friends. The bad news is that loneliness and social isolation are actually as bad for your health as smoking and obesity. But the good news is that if you can stay socially engaged, take part in social activities, it's not only rewarding, but it can help maintain your brain function and may even reduce your risk for developing dementia.
When patients come to see me for the very first time, it's usually their first experience, and they're quite nervous. They're hoping they're going to tell them it's a block of wax, or that actually their hearing is fine and it's their family's problem, or people mumble. And when I go through the hearing test and we do the full evaluation and I explain the hearing loss, they can be quite taken back. And they need to accept the fact that there is something there, first of all, and then they need to realise, well, this is not the end of the world. This can actually be solved.
My wife persuaded me that it was the most natural thing to do. I wore glasses, so why shouldn't I wear hearing aids? And you know, they weren't that, they wouldn't be noticeable, but they would make a difference. So I did. I got one aid initially, and some months later I got a second aid, and the difference it made was phenomenal. I can function perfectly in meeting situations. I can interview people. I have done a lot of radio journalism work, and no problem at all with carrying out interviews on the phone where the line wouldn't be that good. I can still do a good interview in the studio. Not an issue anymore. So certainly they've made a huge, huge difference to my life.
Before I got my hearing aids, I was very nervous of going to different outings or get-togethers, whatever. I didn't want to be there and left on my own, kind of a thing, sitting in the corner watching people. And I just didn't know any other way to handle it. I didn't know what else to do, only just not be in that situation, which kind of lost me a lot of time with people that I was very friendly with. And since then I have got the hearing aids. You ask me to go somewhere, I'm gone.
If you are experiencing hearing loss to the extent that it is preventing you from taking part in social activities or making it difficult for you to communicate with family and friends, the best advice is to address that issue as soon as possible. So maybe consider taking a hearing test or getting a hearing aid.
It took me a while to get used to them. Now, when I say a while, I'm talking about 2 years. I was inclined to just leave them off. When I began to get used to them, I found I needed to put them on before I went into company. Because if I put them on at the last minute, I could hear all the noises in the background, which I wasn't used to. So the getting used to the background sounds that I hadn't heard for years took a while.
Realistically, the longer somebody has left it to do something about their hearing loss, the longer it will take us to get them back to hearing the way they should, because they've completely forgotten these sounds.
There are much better outcomes for people who address their hearing loss earlier, not just for themselves, but for their families, their friends and society.
It's not going to get any better. Your hearing is going to get worse unless you do something about it. Okay, the hearing aids are not a new pair of ears or anything like that, but they do make life an awful lot easier for me.
I wouldn't be afraid to say I have them now. It's like glasses. You know, when you can no longer see with the particular glasses, then you increase them. I wouldn't be without them. Couldn't be without them anymore.
As we've heard, people with a hearing loss experience greater disruption to their lives and their quality of life. Hearing aids are an excellent solution for most people, yet only 1/3 of those who would benefit from hearing aids actually have them. The message is very simple. Don't delay, act now. Get your hearing tested and mind your hearing.